because people wrestle with God, who love church, who love their families, but they wrestle with God when things like this happen.
I think about how water recedes really far back before a tidal wave comes. There was a tidal wave of grief coming and loss coming because of the fact that we didn't experience it all growing up. At some point, it had to start.
What advice would you give them if you were counseling them about keeping the legacy alive appropriately?
There were times I got on stage and felt like an actor getting into character to sing songs I no longer believe. That's literally how I felt.
Here we go!
Well, this is a special Unbound podcast today because I have my third child, oldest son, Anthony Evans Jr. Okay, so he got my name because he was the first boy born, okay, to the Evans clan. So welcome, Anthony, to Unbound.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, I'm glad that you are here, all right? Now, a lot of people know who you are because they know your music. He's our singing son, okay? He's got all kind of music going everywhere around the world. So let's just talk about what Anthony Evans Jr. is up to these days.
Okay.
Everybody calls me Tony because my name is Anthony, but so that we wouldn't confuse people, they call you Anthony, call me Tony. But I'm glad to have you here today. And so just kind of talk about what's happening in the life of Anthony Evans Jr. right now.
What's happening in my life is that I get to lead worship, which has always been the case, which I enjoy quite a bit. But over the years, without taking too long to talk about all of it, over the years I've started to doing a lot of production. So that's been a big thing. So recording my own albums, producing my own albums, and then producing live events, which is a lot of fun. And that goes every which direction with opportunities, but that's been the main thing. And then making sure that I'm peaceful with all that going on at the same time, because I'm your emotional kid also. You left that part out, which I'm sure you would have said at some point.
Oh, it's going to come up.
Okay. For sure.
So you're doing this music and you're producing and you're developing productions for churches. Well, okay, talk about some of the productions you have done or are doing.
Well, what I'm currently working on, a lot of the stuff I get to do at the church here in Dallas, which is great. Right now, I've actually paused on doing the next big production because I just needed a little second. So there's not one lined up right now. But from the book we did as a family to the live events we've done as a family, I love kind of working on that. I'm working on new artists also. Like now I'm in the phase of like wanting to push the stuff I've learned on, not push it on them, but use it on artists who are wanting to be on the road like I used to be right now. So that's a big part of it too.
Well, your journey, your musical journey, because I'm just reflecting back. It started at church.
Yes.
When you began singing. That's how I found out you could sing at church. And then you wind up going to Liberty University.
Right.
I take a little credit for that.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were on the sing group Sounds of Liberty?
Yes.
Is it Sounds of Liberty? Okay, so let's talk about, I want to just hit the various phases.
Go way back, okay?
Way back. So give me a summary of church and then moving to Liberty, and then we'll take it from there.
I didn't know, I thought everybody was decent at singing because everybody at church sang to me. I got called out in a lot of rehearsals and like for youth choir because I had to be involved in something. And so at our church, you have to be a part of a ministry. I chose the youth choir, and he kept calling my name. He would be like, Anthony, you sing that part. And everybody would make fun of me because I was getting called out, but I didn't know that meant you have a special ear. You can hear stuff quick. I didn't know. So that progressed into you seeing it. And once you see something, this is how my dad is, y'all. Once he sees something to develop, he'll do everything he can to make something happen, and you did. You made a bunch of phone calls I didn't approve. You got me accepted to a school that at that time I didn't want to go to, but it was free, so you said, I'm going there. Remember that?
I do remember that. That was good news for me.
Yes, exactly. So something happened that you've always said, which is my feelings followed my feet. I didn't love it at first, but then I started to fall in love with singing once I was doing it that much, because it was really intense. It went from a hobby to like everything, because you had to sing enough for school to be paid for. It was a lot of singing. So that's the passion followed that, and had people speaking into me the whole time.
So that was Liberty University, and you were traveling all over the place with the Sound of Liberty.
Liberty, then Truth, then Kirk, and then my first album, which at that point you were seeing how much I was working at it. So you were a part of me making of my first album, which now all these years later is 12.
12, it's 12 albums?
Mm-hmm.
So I had stopped counting, but okay. But let me go from Liberty to Truth, okay? Because you're on a bus. You're on a bus with the singing group, and you're going all over the country now.
Yes,
okay.
for 2 years.
That was 2 years, okay? But then you didn't only sing, you loaded, unloaded buses, you had to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was a different, very interesting scenario.
You're laughing, okay.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if I would do that again. I would want to meet the people I met in there again. But I don't know if ministry's supposed to feel like that. You know what I mean? We can talk about that another time. But yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. Okay. And then I remember Kirk Franklin came over to the house, and he had started coming to the church, and I wanted to get his impression of your voice. So your mom and I were in the living room where the piano was, and we had him come play and hear you sing. Right, which is my nightmare. Because I was like, parents who want to have their kids keep going, sorry.
No, go ahead.
When a parent's like, my kid can sing, it creates a nightmare inside of me because I know he was thinking, here we go. Let me sit at this piano and figure out the words I'm going to say to this guy when he can't do anything. That whole, but yeah.
So he then dismissed you from the room, and your mom and I are sitting there, and he looked up at us and said, wow, he has got a great voice. So that introduction led you to singing with Kirk Franklin. So talk a little bit about that.
That was 4 years. It felt like getting a master's or a doctorate or whatever in music, because I was 21 when he hired me, and he was on a world tour, and I just jumped on buses and planes for 4 years and toured the Rebirth album with him. The album he made a few after that, but I was just touring with the biggest gospel act artist in history. And then he did a tour with Yolanda Adams and Donnie McClurkin, and one of Yolanda's singers wasn't able to do part of the tour, and so Yolanda hired me. So I was singing with Kirk and Yolanda, and it was just a master class in the road, in ministry, in singing, and having to level up, because I'm with these singers now who have been doing this 15, 20 years, and I'm 21 and having to just be. So it was a great experience. He taught me a lot. He taught me a whole lot.
Okay, so you're doing with Kirk, and now you're going out on your own after Kirk, right?
It kind of simultaneously. At the very end of me traveling with Kirk, I made an album in Nashville. I met a guy named Jason Ingram, Chip Ingram's son. You remember telling me about this?
Yes.
Jason Ingram, who's now one of the biggest writers in Christian music. He met me, walked me into Jeff Mosley's office. I had a record deal that day. It was the weirdest. It was just fast. And
was that when I went with you?
Later on, after it was all negotiated. You came into town. You and Mommy came into town, and I signed the deal. And bottom line is, yes, I simultaneously released an album while traveling with Kirk, but then I started to have to miss Kirk things to do my own things, and that's not a good idea.
Yeah,
it was like, I can't come to this one, but I can come to this one. And then that was like the beginning of me needing to do my own thing.
Okay, so you branch out on your own, and just summarize how that worked.
Okay. I branch out on my own and figure out that Christian music is one of the most divided music genres in history. That's what I figured out, because I was singing to crowds like you speak to. But that on radio doesn't work because it was so separated. So it began a journey of me figuring out who am I without a place to go. And that sounds very poor and mean. It's not that. It was like, Anthony, you need to pick a side. You need to either sing gospel or you need to sing contemporary Christian music. But I was down the middle of the two, and there was no Maverick City yet. So I was in the middle, but I was skipping over the industry, not realizing, because churches wanted to have me come, because I could do that, but the industry, there was no place for me. And in feeling all the left out, and I got to figure this out myself, I started to learn how to do everything. So if you fast forward to now, the production company and that arm of me was built out of a time where you didn't fit and you have to figure it out yourself.
So what would you call your space now then? Because you're kind of between
Christian
the two worlds.
music, because right now it's become, because of people who are my friends. I was actually very excited to watch something happen that I was told would never happen, because my friends now didn't have to pick a side. They can just be them, and there's a way around the industry, other outlets, other ways to get through that gate, or build your own gate and let people in through that way.
Because that's what I had to do. I had to go around the system, because I was between two worlds.
Yes.
You know, the white Christian world and then the black traditional church world, and having to talk to both, but not having a historical space to operate from.
You have the ability, you're being yourself, but there was no branding around that. So they really were lost. It's kind of very similar.
Yeah, it is. I'm just being reminded of that as we talked, that we both had to carve that middle space, hopefully to bring people together and not drive them further apart. But
right. I don't think it's done that.
Okay, so you're like now doing what? How many churches a year do you do, or
now,
concerts now?
Probably 50 to 80. It just depends on the year.
And you travel with a band or with tracks? Or
no, mostly a band. Tracks are very limiting in the worship space. Like it's very I will do it occasionally.
The track will cut off and you're not finished.
Yeah. The room's not finished and the track's not, it's just a very awkward feeling. It feels like Christian karaoke, which is not fun when you're trying to lead worship.
Okay, and how many songs have you done?
Oh, probably over 100.
Oh,
I have 12 albums, each album has 10 songs, so most of them do.
So I just need to do the math.
Yes.
And I'll know.
I didn't mean it like that.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of, how God is using you, and you put together the collective at our church. Say a word about that, because you kind of put that together.
It's just I don't like personality-driven worship to the point where worship leaders have to hyperextend themselves spiritually, emotionally, physically to always be the one on the stage because everybody's expecting them every time. I want people to expect a encounter with the Lord and excellence, and it can come from me or these other people who I know who are great worship leaders, but I don't want us feeling exacerbated because somewhere along the line, ministry, feeling exhausted and hyperextending is somehow synonymous with ministry, and I just don't believe that. So I created a group of us who we foster each other, we encourage each other, and now it's your turn, and I'm going to sit out here and listen. Now it's your turn. I'm going to sit. So once or twice a month is how much we lead, and if somebody's exhausted, we let I'll go twice. You go once. We just switch out. We just care. Yeah, we care about each other's well-being. That's the bottom line, yeah. Well,
that's great. I like the fact not only have you done your music, but you've also tried to help other people come along who are gifted in that space. I remember the young man that you introduced me to who had that story.
Oh, yeah.
Caleb. But he also has a tremendous voice, yes. And you've opened up opportunities for him as well. So
that's been great. His mom actually did that. She called me and asked me to manage her son, and I said, I will consult with y'all. And she's like, no, you're supposed to manage. So it's been a 6 or 7 months, like starting up, but developing artists is a big part.
That's great. Well, we've had quite a season in our family of series of losses. Started with winter, I guess, in terms of the whole family. It started with winter because my mother had passed away, and then our niece, 39 years old, all of a sudden passed away, and then there was this whole bevy of losses till it got really personal when your mom, my wife, Lois, passed away. And, when we lose, my father and Lois passed away 1 month from each other. So I was going from Dallas to Baltimore because he was in Baltimore and going back and forth. But then we had that personal loss as a intimate family with your mom, and this whole thing of loss, because everybody has them. We don't know when they're going to occur. We're going a long time with no losses. Mm-hmm. As a family, that became a new experience for us as everybody's grown at this point. And trying to deal with grief and maintaining the value of the impact that people in our lives have made, in this case, Mom, and not losing that impact, not losing what they brought to the table and how much we benefit from. But then life still goes on. So you're trying to appreciate, remember, and value that history and not have it get lost. And at the same time, loving each other, caring for each other, and moving forward in life. And that whole tension, because all families face it. Some people are forgotten and never remembered by their family. other people are struggling with the loss, and how to remember and still keep going. How have you navigated that and still navigate that whole space? Because I know how intimate Mom was with our family and with you in particular, because she was the music person in our home in terms of singing and making albums and all of that. So just talk about your feelings, thoughts, and emotions of trying to walk through that journey.
That's a lot.
I know.
We switched. We turned left so fast.
I
and
know. I went
okay.
left. I know. I've been
No, it's
known to do
okay.
that.
Yeah, I'm trying to switch from a career talk to this talk real quick. But there's so many different thoughts that I have.
Take your time. I mean, I want to hear, because different thoughts are okay, because people are in different spaces.
Right.
You know, and they're hearing different things. But I think people just knowing that we are on that journey, have been on that journey, are on that journey, can just hear that this is a journey that we all are on, and we all have to walk through.
Mm-hmm. Well, thankfully, I'll start by saying, thankfully, I had been in therapy for a while before all this started to happen. I didn't know it wasn't like grief. It wasn't specifically about that, but it was just about calibrating myself and being at peace with me and figuring out the checks and balances with me. And I didn't know that this was coming. But you mentioned we didn't experience a lot of loss growing up. Now I look at it, when I think about that, I think about how water recedes really far back before a tidal wave comes. Like that, you can mistake, if you don't know what that means, you can mistake it as just like another day, and this just looks odd to me that the water's doing that. When you know what that is, there was a tidal wave of grief coming and loss coming because of the fact that we didn't experience it all growing up. At some point it had to start, and it was like not until I was almost 30 that we experienced loss in our family. And I had been working on myself enough to where I didn't fully lose it, because it was a lot. It was a lot for anybody, but it felt like a tidal wave of grief and loss and questions. And thankfully, I had been working on not avoiding my emotions, which is huge. I think that's just in general. I'm just going to kind of say random things that come to my mind. I had already worked on not being an avoidant of emotions that I'm actually my body and my mind and my spirit want me to feel. Because I naturally can do that. I can just go into numbing behavior, whatever that is. I can go shop, I can go travel, I can just do a bunch of things. And so with the loss of Mommy specifically, I made myself feel, I took and allowed space to let myself feel the emotions that were trying to come. A lot of times it was anger, sadness, all of that. I didn't try to avoid that. And I think that's huge, because when you avoid them, they go somewhere. And I think people don't realize that's just a natural, as a human being, if you try to push it down, it doesn't go away. It's still in there, and it will come out some other way. So a huge part of me dealing with the grief was being honest about how I feel. And then I think allowing myself to slow down also. Ministry is not noble when you're doing it to numb emotions or get away from reality and all that stuff. And it can look noble because you're up there singing and worshiping, but nobody knows that this is, at that point, if I would have kept going, this all would have been an act. 100% an act.
So you had to back away.
Yes, because there were times I got on stage and felt like an actor getting into character to sing songs I no longer believe. That's literally how I felt, because it was just too much.
Trying to wrestle with God when we're going through grief, loss we didn't want or loss we didn't anticipate. Mom was sick for almost a year and a half, I guess, the whole time from the time we found out that there was cancer. And praying and trusting and believing and hoping, and it not happening like we had hoped. Spiritually, just wrestle with God, because people wrestle with God, who love church, who love, their families, but they wrestle with God when things like this happen. And how was your wrestling there?
I think I got to a place where I realized God can handle it. You don't have to be you don't have to be all packaged nicely when you bring him this grief or when you bring him this anger or when you bring him this sadness. You can just bring it to him.
Okay.
And he would meet me there. And there was a grace on me, because if anybody in our family is going to lose it, it would be me. And there was a grace on me that I remember even now just thinking, like, how am I this okay? Not okay, but how am I not off the rails? Yes. Like,
Yeah.
how am I not off the rails with this? And I think that he will, if you do what you can, God will do what you can't, which I'm just a firm believer in that. So I would just do what I could as dealing with grief. And it was met with a lot of grace and peace that was very unexplainable, like a peace that passes all understanding. Like that's what I had during that time, but it took me doing what I could and not trying to hold back emotions and finding ways to honor Mommy. I still do that all the time. Like I know how my mom would want this scenario, and it's not like that. So I'm going to try my best to make it the way she would want it, because that's what she deserves after all this time and effort and energy to build So
Yeah. So, we started the church with 10 people in our home, and, it grew, and then Mom worked with the ministry and helping to start the Urban Alternative and developing that so all of those grew, and y'all were part of that process of all the growth in ministry, and trying to keep that memory alive, but not being so hostage to it that you can't keep going. And you've been the one who, in our family, who's kind of been the most verbal about keeping the legacy alive. Talk for people who have lost loved ones, not allowing them to be forgotten. That's been an important thing for you. Talk about your feelings about that.
Yeah, I just think after the level of investment, and I'm the same way about you now, and will always be the same way about you. Like, I get like, to me, I get like righteously angry thinking about anybody trying to make major changes to things that you've spent your life building with our mom. Like, I just am like, I feel like that's not to cause issues, but there was a sacrifice that I'm actually realizing more layers and levels to the sacrifice now than I knew when Mommy was here, because you start to see when she's not here, you were like, oh, she was doing that too and doing that too. And to me, to not acknowledge how she would have wanted things. She didn't set this up just for while I'm here, I want it to be set up this way. She wanted you protected, period. She wanted us protected, period. She wanted this ministry to be as drama-free as possible, period. Like, that wasn't just while I'm here. So to me, to know how she would want it, because to her, y'all's DNA is a part of ours, and to help perpetuate that, and I bounce it off the siblings too, because I can be a little bit over the top, because I feel very justified in being that way. So I have to, yeah.
You do.
Why would I not?
No, go ahead. I just hearing you say it.
Yeah, I feel I have to remove myself from scenarios sometimes and let the other three handle it, because I get so worked up about how much y'all have sacrificed, period, to do this. Like this. So I feel like it's the way to honor her. And I try to do it the right way, running it through the staff and making sure everybody's on board with it. But I know I'm thinking like, oh, our mom would really have wanted it to be this way.
So for other families who are going through this, how would you tell them, what advice would you give them if you were counseling them about keeping the legacy alive appropriately?
Yeah, I think I would tell you that is not only beneficial to the legacy of the person you lost, but it's beneficial to you grieving well and healing well and walking through your emotions well. Like, that is a way to that has been great for me, from any ministry wise to keeping roses in my house or flowers in my house all the time, because that's what my mom would have wanted. Like, I'd go that far, and it's constant, and it helps me grieve well while keeping her legacy alive.
Well, I know when it comes to the house you grew up in, you don't allow stuff to be moved. You don't allow stuff to be changed. You don't allow stuff to be, I mean, even the way the trash was emptied. You were that specific.
Well, I noticed things changing and was just like, who feels okay to come in here and start moving my mom's stuff? Like that's just how I mean, that's how I didn't know it was happening.
Yeah, it was just a
So,
natural
yeah,
response.
it's,
Well, I remember the first year, I don't know if it's the first year, but on Mother's Day, we all got together and we talked about memories. We went to a restaurant with me and the 4 kids, and we talked about just memories of Mom.
yes.
And I think one way to keep a legacy alive is to talk about the things you remember and not let those things about the person or about their effect on you get lost. Because some people, it's like when the person passes, they're forgotten, the burial's over, and we just move on with life as though they were never here in the first place.
Right.
And I remember, and we kind of do that naturally now. We don't have all the official times,
Right.
but we kind of do it naturally now. If something pops up, you'll say, you're probably the one that says it most, well, Mom would say this or do this or react this way. So those discussions, I think, are helpful too,
Yes.
because they keep the person's life in memory.
Yes.
And not lost. Anything else you would say to people who are going through this adjustment process?
There's just so many.
Yeah, I know. It can be deep.
Take your time walking through your process. I think that it's so important to get actual tools on how to deal with your grief, because everybody's different.
How would you describe the differences of the siblings? If you were to walk down each child, each of the 4.
On a fundamental level, this is what I think. We all feel the same. We just embody the feelings different. Emotions are great for my career and music and all that stuff, but I don't push them down. I don't believe in bottling up emotions. I don't try to be appropriate, but I don't believe in bottling them up. So I'm with what I feel. If we all felt the same thing, you would hear it from me. The way that Priscilla handles it is she can be engaged, feeling all the things, but be engaged and you not know. Same thing with Crystal. I think actually the other 3 can do different versions of that. And I'm going to be the one to speak up or remove myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the more visible verbal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think this is probably too much for a podcast, but I feel like I have put my emotions to the side growing up so that everything could be at peace, like typical middle child stuff. Nobody asked me to do that. I think I've done that and saw how detrimental that was to me as a human being. And so now I just go the opposite direction.
So you need to be pulled back some? Or
I think I can pull myself back. I have people around me who are really honest about it. But yes, I think I've just seen the benefit of being vocal and saying how you feel about things, and how much I missed out on not saying that, and how much inner turmoil I had because I was holding on to. So now I'm just the opposite. And as related to my mom, I'm going to be, I feel justified in that. So
taking the memories, the remembrances, Mom is buried on our church campus, and there's a little memorial there, and we intermittently go there to just reflect or think or pray, and other people as well, because she was there starting the church. As post that, do you feel like, and what would you say about continuing to move forward, not losing the past, but not letting the past hinder moving forward?
Yeah, I think you can get stuck. I think moving forward is very important, but I think it looks different. It's very different. Like moving forward to me is a different. My mom is an interwoven fabric of my daily life involves my mom. Like Mama is a part of my daily life. Like my thought process, my patterns, where I go. If I go to a certain place to get something, if I go to Whole Foods to get something, I will think about my mom in here, and I know she would get this, and that's how much my mind does that. So I think it really just, it looks different depending. Sorry, I kind of lost track of the question. My brain went.
just the moving forward part. How?
Yeah.
Because you made a statement a minute ago. You said you can get stuck. And would you say that that's unhealthy to get stuck?
I think, yes, if you're stuck in a pattern of not trying to resolve the grief or move forward with the grief, I think so. I think it's so intricate. Like in our family, there's a bunch of us grieving, bunch of us moving at different paces, a bunch of decisions made that could affect the other person who's grieving. So it's a very delicate, it's a super delicate process. I think communicating well with yourself and those around you, where you are, and asking people to help you in that journey. Like, no, don't pause your life, but can you be aware of where I am, and we kind of move with that in mind. I think that's huge. But
I know, because one of the things you and I have had to talk about is that tension or that space of not losing yesterday, but not prohibiting tomorrow, and balancing that out, because it's a balancing act, because it's so emotional and it's so historical.
Yeah.
But you're still here, so you still got to keep functioning and moving forward. And a lot of people can get stuck so that they're unable to move forward. And what you just said a minute ago about having people around you that can kind of balance that out, because I know we get together, the kids, and we talk about, we try to help each other to move forward, and sometimes it's tougher, sometimes in other times, just based on the different dynamics.
Right.
But yet, we still got to live, and there are people like that that have this struggle and stress of not living in stuckness.
Right.
And I'm just trying to, for that person who is stuck, don't want to lose the memories and the legacy, but are struggling moving forward. It seems like one of the things that is somewhat helpful is having that circle around you of family, friends, counseling, church, whatever it is, to help walk you forward so that you don't stay with only yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But at the same, yes, it just still looks
Go ahead,
different.
you were going to say that. At the
No, I'm
same
just saying it
time,
just looks different. And there's so many nuances to all of everything you're saying. There's just so many nuances to it that there can be things that happen where you're moving 3 steps forward, and then something happens within the sphere of the people around you, and it takes you 5 steps back. So it's a very delicate
fluid
process.
kind of situation.
Yeah, there has to be a moment for me where I have had to individuation has had to happen as related to how I'm grieving, what I can deal with, how I'm going to deal with it. Sorry if you're offended. This is the way. There has to be that also. And that's...
We got to allow space for people to work through with their own unique places.
Yes, because if you push somebody through a process and they're not ready, it's like pulling something out of the oven early. It's not ready. So
one of the things you got from me is illustrations, because you be a killer with illustrations. In your worship, I mean, the way you integrate illustrations in your worship, and just what you just said now about pulling something out of the oven too fast, it's just not ready.
Right.
It's not ready.
Yes.
I may steal that from you.
Okay.
Okay. Since you stole so many from me. But that's another story for another day.
That's the way you communicated growing up. So I thought everybody just told stories all the time. Until I had a friend of mine in college, I started to talk, and they were like, I didn't ask for a parable. I said, do you want, I was thinking, don't I talk like that? That was a realization I had at 18. And a friend told me, why does everything a parable?
Okay, well, you're good at it. So pulling something out the oven too quick, but at the same time, not letting it get burnt.
Yes,
because I just picked up on your illustration, just flipped it. Okay,
right.
Not keeping it in there so long that it becomes your meal is damaged.
Right. So you were talking about moving on, which
Okay.
to me is pulling stuff out too fast.
Okay, but what about the other side, leaving it in too long? Or allowing the person to leave it in too long.
There can be that. I've had friends around me who are like, okay, you had your tears, you had your moment. Now let's go do something to honor your mom instead of you sitting here sad about it. Let's turn that sadness into something good, and let's go honor your mom. Let's figure it out. Like whatever it is. Mom used to say, stop and smell the roses. So let's do something today. she would enjoy.
So
And
you have people who pulled you forward.
Yes, or gave me that idea. Because in sadness, you can't necessarily think about that. Like, oh, I can do this, and it may bring a smile to my face. It may be a heavier smile, but it'll be me doing something in honor of this person, and it's not the same weight as sitting there in your sadness and you can't get out of bed and you can't. Like, Mommy, I got on a plane and went to sing right after Mommy passed because she was into me not stopping ministry.
Right.
I did that in honor of her. And that helped. I was on the stage singing in honor of her. It helped me to move, but still hold on to her as I move. And I think that is, how do you hold on to the person but continue to move forward?
Okay, so I think that's helpful for people to hear that you've got to take advantage of doing things that can move you forward to help you get out of a stuck place that you shouldn't be in because you've been there too long.
Yes.
Too long. You know, it's been 6 years, I guess, since Mommy's passed, and I am proud of the fact that her memory has been kept within our framework, within our family, and because people knew who she was, it's within the ministry. But at the same time, the ministry has got to go on. People have still got to be ministered to. The family's still got to be kept strong. We've got now great-grandchildren that she's never met, that have never met her.
Oh, say that.
You know, and I remember my granddaughter, Karis, our oldest daughter's daughter, was very sad when Selah was born. And she said she'd never met Nani, is what we called Lois. And yet at the same time, to be able to tell stories, to say, well, you never met her, but this was who she was.
Right.
So it's not just a picture in a frame.
Of course.
You know, but a person that you can talk about. But they're great-grandchildren. They still got to be raised. You still got to move forward. I still got to relate to them as Poppy. So it's a delicate dance to remember yesterday and not take advantage of tomorrow because we still got to live. So what does tomorrow look like for you in terms of remembering yesterday, but at the same time saying, okay, but we got to go. Some of it you talked about, but...
Yeah, I think it just looks like finding new ways. I keep circling back to what I said before. It's finding new ways, or the ways I've kind of done it, of just honoring her, carrying Mommy's legacy with me. It makes me very proud. I don't know if they can see this. I don't know if they can get tight. It makes me this makes me very proud because it's my mom. Do you know it's Mommy's diamond around my neck?
You told me about 3 times.
Yeah. Okay, got it. I know. I think I've told you a bunch of times. Just that's not small at all, but just those things just kind of give me. She's with me as I move forward. Like, what are some ways you can have them with you as you move forward? Whether it's this or moving forward and doing something along the way that they would really enjoy. Like, that's really how it looks to me. And I'm being redundant, but that's really what it looks like.
You know, it's that you hit me with something that's very personal to me in that regard, because this ring is the wedding band that Mommy brought for me, okay? And when I got remarried to Carla, I asked her permission to wear this ring. And she lovingly, positively gave it to me, because what this was is it acknowledges a yesterday, which is why I asked her, well, this ring, the wedding ring over here, is the new reality. But it didn't cancel, and she agreed that it shouldn't cancel, that there was a 49 and a half year history. So when she was positive about, oh yeah, that's fine, ring, because that had meaning, that kept the connection, but it didn't deny, what was happening in real time now. So I remember my slowly moving to ask about, because I didn't know what the reaction would be, but it was a positive reaction about, yeah, that's fine. And so I carried that. That's also why I gave you my ring. That ring you have on your hand now was a ring I gave you that I used to wear on this hand as a way of connecting. I don't know You know, I'm 6 or 7. I'm trying to add up my time. It's good that I forget sometimes. But just to carry that continuity, you know, so to be able to have continuity and moving forward and still remembering that there was a history that got us to where we are. And the Bible's full of that too. The Bible will rehearse things. Remember the God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Well, that was a long time ago, but God's remembering you. And then he talks about Moses, and he talks about, he talks about moving forward. And then, when your brother took over at the church, it was a moving forward, but it was not relinquishing what brought you to that place. Mm-hmm. And so helping people to appreciate what brought you here, and at the same time building on that for your tomorrow, and not letting your tomorrow be damaged because you're stuck in what brought you here, is what we've got to help each other to do as family and as fellow Christians. So as you relate to ministry, as you relate to your siblings, and I know you're also very close to the grandchildren. They're the grandchildren. Your Uncle Nene, that's what they all call you, Uncle Nene. And they like you because you buy them stuff and you spoil them, okay? Okay. And I know investing in the future, talk about that part of your commitment to the family, because that's been very strong.
Yeah, well, it's only strong because that's how y'all taught us to be. Like it's strong because of now looking back at how much y'all invested, which is now growing. Like the amount. Well, we're talking about mommy, the amount that she was doing to build what we're doing right now, and all four of us. You mentioned earlier, like mommy, there's no way that her legacy could be forgotten or moved around because she was intricately a part of everything. We're literally sitting at a table that she built, basically. Like what we're doing right now is built the ministry she built. So it's very hard to get away from the way y'all raised us and what we're always being a part of. But I'm very committed to family because of y'all, and it helps me to honor you and mommy by being committed to us.
Well, I think
all of us.
The fact of your commitment coming out of that legacy and how you invest in us. I mean, you force us to come together. We have terrible schedules, okay? Trying to get all of us at the same time is a miracle within itself. But you more than any other family member, force that to happen. You insist on that happening. And of course, we grew up around the table. So we spent, our meals were around the table most of the time. And now even with our children, grandchildren, and now great-grandchildren, we get together the first Sunday of most months to just be together. And so I think one of the things that keeps us connected is our gatherings, that we come together to be together. We laugh and we kid and we joke and we remember, but we're together. And I think one of the ways that memories can be kept alive is being together. Last Thanksgiving, I was with Carla, my new wife. I was with her family, and they have family gatherings like we have family gatherings. And her father, who had passed away recently, his name kept coming up in their family gatherings, that what he had invested in the children, what he had invested in the grandchildren. And his name kept coming up as the history and legacy of why they still love being together now. So they all went bowling and all of that, but it was to keep that continuity going. So I can appreciate the importance of family being helpful in remembering legacy and still moving forward. How do you think, compared to you, the siblings are doing in balancing that? What would your sense be?
I think we all struggle with it, to be honest.
Okay.
And they wouldn't probably want me to be as honest on here, but you asked me.
I asked you, they're not here.
Yeah, I think we all struggle with it individually. Because when people move at different paces, you struggle with stuff. Like that's just the bottom line. So I think it's very hard because our family's so close and there's so much happening that involves us. And I've had to not feel bad, honestly, about pulling myself back out of, like, individuation's real, because some of the pace we were moving was hurtful to me, but not hurtful to you. And so I'm like, okay, well, I got to figure out what I'm going to do here so I don't hurt myself for them. So there's been that of all of us trying to figure out how we are going to position ourselves. But it's hard in our case because we are not like living everywhere, and I'm a doctor and Priscilla's a lawyer and somebody like, and we're just talk to you when I talk to you. We are intricately involved. Yes, intricately involved in every aspect. So I feel like it's very hard, but Jonathan's got 5 kids. He can't take everything in and sit there and deal with it. He can't. He has to move on. He has to do a sermon and raise my nieces and nephews. I think everybody's having to deal with it differently, but we're all, I really know my siblings well, and we're all at the same place, just different. You just get different versions of how we handle it.
So I got to deal with 4 different versions, and if you throw a granddaughter in 5,
if you deal with the root, then you don't have to deal with anything other than the root, because that'll fix all the different versions.
Just the root, okay.
That's it to me. Is the root cause of it all is what has to be dealt with, and for a lot of us, it's, are you grieving well for you?
Okay. All right. Well, one of the things that I have benefited from that comes out of our history is the deep commitment that all of you have to family and to me. I mean, that is crystal clear. And I think having those relationships, if you don't have it with your nuclear family, which we have it in our nuclear family, but a lot of people don't have that. The family is frayed and all of that.
Yes.
They don't get together regularly and they don't call each other. I'm overcalled. I mean, Priscilla calls me once a day or twice a day, virtually every day of the year.
That's called your children trying to hang on to you.
Okay. I ain't going nowhere. Okay. I pick up the phone and I call back.
That's the problem. That you don't think you're going anywhere.
I think that communication, keeping up with each other, matters, because then you feel like you're cared about.
Yes.
And I know, like, one of the things important to you is when I initiate the call.
Yes.
Because that means
because you're my dad.
and you want me to reach out to you. You don't want to be the one having to always reach out.
Yeah, I mean, that's
right.
Yes.
That makes it. That gives it a special. That makes it special.
Yes.
And I think initiative can help people in the process. Mm-hmm. When you know you're cared about, and people know where you are and care about where you are, because I do. Yeah. And I want people to be able, beyond just our family, I want them to be able to work through the grief that we all are going to go through, and to care enough about each other, if nuclear family or spiritual family, some relationship that can walk with you through that time, mm-hmm. because that time comes and it's unavoidable if we keep living. And to be able to leave so many good memories behind, maybe not perfect, but good memories behind, that there is something to celebrate. And there is something because we were connected. We didn't just try to get connected after the person left, but we were connected along the journey in whatever allows for that connection. Mm-hmm. So any other thoughts, any other reflections on anything related to this that would benefit other people who are going through this season of loss?
I don't think I have any other thoughts. I want to know what you think about, where's that verse that talks about since we're surrounded by such a mighty cloud of witnesses? Where is that?
That's the book of Hebrews chapter 12.
And what does that specifically mean? Do you know what that means?
Well, he has talked in chapter 11 about all the people of faith who have gone ahead. But they give testimony that you can keep going even when you are faced with trouble, because they kept going. So they are our witnesses who give testimony from the scriptures that there's this cloud of support system.
Oh, they give testimony from the scriptures. So that's
They give testimony from the scripture, but also from heaven.
Okay, great, because that's what I feel like. When I said I do daily life with mommy, that's what I feel like.
Okay, yes, because he talks about that. He talks about it in previously in the chapter. He says that we have come to Mount Zion with those who have gone ahead of us.
Okay, great.
So he talks about that. And I remember you mentioning that. I think you went to the gravesite one time, and you said you could virtually hear mommy impressing thoughts on you.
Yeah,
Something
like I'm okay. Like take care of your dad, but it felt very like, why do I feel this in that way? It's not like, oh, she let me take care of my dad. So I didn't know.
It wasn't just Bible verses.
Yes,
It was,
growing up conservative Christian, you're like witchcraft. You don't know what you know what I mean. Like, you don't know, but I just took it for like this feels too big, and I feel like God gave me. If I don't know how biblical this is or not, I just feel like God gave me an extra dose of grace in that area of literally.
He meets us at our point of need, and you didn't just need a Bible verse. You needed you needed it to come off the page. You needed what we call a rhema word, an experience of the word, and I think he gave you that. He gave mom that when she was passing, because when she was passing two things of, we wrote the book, Divine Disruption, and all of us wrote it together, and we were rehearsing our journey through her illness and the losses we had experienced. And she actually said she saw her parents and had that experience in that time of transition. And she even told me, she said, they just told me I have a couple of days left. Those were her words to me. And she said, they told me.
Right.
So at the point, and that's in the Bible, in Acts chapter 7, when Stephen says he saw Jesus standing at the right hand of the Father. So God gives us in those moments what we need for those moments to get us through those moments, whether it was her getting through that transition or us dealing with that transition. He gives us in those moments an experience with him for what we need. And I think we just added something to the discussion.
Yeah.
If you have a loss, asking God to give you in that moment what you need from him, either through his word or through an experience.
Yes.
Sometimes well, my wife Carla told me it was a sermon she heard that lifted her beyond the sudden loss of her mate in that moment from Isaiah 40. God does it in a lot of different ways to give us something in that moment to help us deal with the pain of that moment. Because those are rough moments. And we were all together when she transitioned. Family was in the house, and we watched her take her last breath. But it was somewhat peaceful to know, even though it was hurtful, the experience, to know that she had that moment. And then the biggest moment was when she said, I'm waiting for the song. And then on the radio came Victory in Jesus, and she said, that's the song. So those moments can come in different ways. But to help other people moving forward, to ask God to give you that moment.
Right.
To ask God to give you that moment that you can hold on to. So what you just recited as your moment when you actually kind of heard her voice, in a sense, spiritually, gave you strength in that moment.
Right. Yes.
And so when we're tempted to give up, not move forward, be hindered by the past loss, to ask God to give you that moment to let him know he's there, and that you're going to be okay. You can keep going. I think it's very important, because it was in the Bible that God gave us those moments too, that lets us know it's okay to expect them and to request them.
Yeah.
Because he still gives them.
I think that's huge. You said, what else would you tell people viewing her to ask God for that?
Yeah, ask God for that moment, because those moments can keep you going. However he chooses to do it. It can be a song, it can be a sermon, it can be what he drops in your spirit at that time.
Yes.
But so, any other final Anthony words?
No, I don't have any other final words. Actually, I don't.
Okay. Well, this has been great.
Glad to be here.
I'm honored to have you here. I'm proud of you. I'm proud what God has done in your life, how he has used your voice, especially your music, how it is blessing people, and people all around the world talk about how blessed they are. And sometimes people come to me and don't say anything about the sermon I just preached. They talk about the song they heard from Anthony. And you had a song for your mother, you had a song for me that you wrote and sang. because of the depth of commitment that you have to our family. And so I love you, I appreciate you, and I'm blessed to have you as my son and to see God continue to use you internally with our family, but externally through the gifting he's given you. So thanks for being part of the Unbound Project.